B-Bad and Brandon.
There we go. We're back. We're back, baby.
Hello.
Whoa. They're good looking.
You can't hear us yet.
Damn. We need to do that to our Zoom.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh. Oh, yes.
Hey guys, how are you?
Oh, no. We can't hear you.
Turn my sound up a bit.
What do we got? Uh-oh.
Cool.
That's exceptional. Hello,
Can
bro.
you hear us?
I can.
Can you?
We can't hear you at the moment.
Can you hear me now?
Nope.
No, not yet. Let me just.
Hello. We can see you. You're looking good.
1, 2, 3. I'm not muted.
What did we not do?
Why is this not working now?
Technical difficulties. We are almost there. This is where Niall comes in handy.
Yeah, it should be, but what I will do is how's that? Can you try and talk now?
I
Sorry.
can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
We can hear him on the computer, can we?
Yeah, so we can hear him. We can hear you now.
Good. Excellent.
Only just.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
Or is it coming through that now?
Oh, I could make him come through that. Let me just... Sorry for all these technical
Sometimes
difficulties.
you get like a HDMI connection or something. It sometimes rats it through there rather than the. Depends what you got.
Just turn that one up. Talk again for us.
1, 2, 3. Testing.
There we go.
Perfect.
That's good. Yeah. I'll have to talk to Noel about that one. I apologize for our very, very low level intelligence when it comes to, well, anything podcast. So
We don't have our guy here.
no, we don't. We're running.
Mate, I've been struggling with Zoom and Teams, and like I had Skype before; it was all good. Then I had to go to Teams, and I had to go to Zoom, and
it's
some
new world we
Google
live in.
things. And
I like the background, bro. What's happening there? Tell me about that.
that's the painting's called the Bedroom in Arlay from Van Gogh,
Oof.
and he
You just happen
painted
to
that
have
for
that
Gogh.
painting in your house.
Pardon?
You just happen to have that painting in your house. That's unreal.
No, oh, I actually do. It's actually in my bedroom, that painting, but
Yep.
it's just a background that I have pasted on the back of my thing because I'm sitting in the staff room at the brewery in Mitchell Road at the moment. So, which is not a very exciting background.
I don't think we've had any other guests say that they're sitting in the staff room of a brewery.
No, we have not. That's incredible.
That's a first for this podcast, and one I'm definitely.
It's also my make do studio apartment when I'm here because I have an air mattress in here that it's popped up against the side of the wall, and it's certainly cheaper than a motel room. And when you're tired, you just want a place to sleep. So, but it's cool.
Unreal,
mate. Now. First, I feel like we should introduce him. Yes,
Absolutely.
Of course. Welcome to the podcast, Mr.
Thanks.
John Dumay. Wait, is it Professor Dumay?
It is.
Oh, Professor John Dumay. I'm so sorry.
This is our first professor.
There you go.
This is our first professor.
Pretty
There
cool.
you go.
Unreal, bro, mate. We like to kick things off. And of course you've seen all of our podcasts. You know how it rolls. We ask
Yeah.
you 21. No, we don't ask you 21 questions. We ask you one question, and it is 21 words: who you are and what you do. You
Okay.
only get 21 words, including sounds. So if you use some sounds, we'll count those.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Go.
Go.
Professor of accounting, beer brewer, and father extraordinaire.
Father extraordinaire.
You've got
more if you need it.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty more if you need it, but that was a pretty good wrap up in just 8 words. I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, my job is to write and write concisely, so I don't mince my words.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about your work. What is it that you do? You said you write concisely.
As a professor, you have to write papers, academic papers, and I am one of the top people in the world in my field. I've been recognized by the Australian newspaper as Australia's top research professor in accounting in 2019.
Yeah, right.
Whether or not I keep that gong this for 2020, we'll find out in September. But I'm also ranked as one of the top 2% of scientists ever to live in the world. And
Holy
last
shit.
year, in 2020, they gave that for the 2019 year, they gave that gong to 179,000 people, and I was number something 7,000 out of that 179,000. So what I do is I write papers that other people find interesting, and they cite those papers in their own research and work. And as a result of that, that's I get a gong for it. So totally accidental. Never in my life planned on being a professor. But I ended up doing a PhD because I wanted to get some better, highly paid gigs as a consultant because I was doing a lot of consulting work, and found that one of my talents was writing. And because of that talent, I was very attracted to university to employ me, because that's one of the key things they want out of their professors, is to be able to write and publish papers at a high level in internationally acclaimed journals.
Wow. And which university are you
at? Currently, I'm full-time professor at Macquarie University, but I also have affiliations in Italy, Denmark, and the Netherlands.
Wow.
So how the hell does all this tie in with a brewery?
Oh, because I love beer. Jesus, if I didn't like beer, I wouldn't do it, mate. Well, it's because I've been a beer brewer longer than I've ever been an academic, and my original experience with brewing beer is, like many people, start out as a home brewer. And it was for my second Father's Day that I got a homebrew kit, because I was a young father with one child and another one on the way, and not much money, and it seemed more economical to brew and make my own beer than to buy it. And started out with one of those kit things, pour the syrup in, make some beer cordial, and ferment it. And did a good job of it, and then started making my own recipes by buying the malt and the hops separately. And as a result of that, entered a few of my beers into the local agricultural show when I was living up near Coffs Harbour. Ended up taking out a couple of blue ribbons and red ribbons for first and second prizes from my beers. So I was making some good beer, apparently. And then my on the paternals, my wife's mother mother-in-law and my mother-in-law and father-in-law then started to live with us when we had a property up near Bellingen, and they were living in the caravan, but they all liked their little cup of tea at 10 a.m. So we used to Harry used to, yes, Harry used to like to, we made a bit of beer. I mean,
Yep.
and Dave, my son Dave, would jump in, and he was like 4 years old, 5 years old at the time, and
Yep.
he'd be helping with carrying the bottles, put them in the milk crate, put the
Yep.
sugar in the bottles, hanging around, that type of thing. So yeah. And then Dave, my son, who was always helping with the beer, he became a chef. So he did his apprenticeship, and when he finished his when he was like second year apprentice, and he was allowed to go to the Stone Hotel in Manly and grab a beer, he realized a schooner of beer equaled an hour's work for an
Yep.
apprentice. So that's economical.
He'd done the
And
economics.
and then he went, Dad used to make beer, so I might make beer at home. And then he got my old recipe book out, and he started making a bit of beer. And then about a year and a half later, we ended up going down to Ballarat University and did an intensive malting and brewing course, because we were both getting back into making beers. And then we thought maybe we could start up a beer brewing business. So we started saving a bit of money, and then we ended up doing the 2-year program at Ballarat University, which is now called Federation University. And we both graduated with postgraduate degrees in food science as master brewers.
Oh, wow.
So
I did not know there was a
A
course,
2-year course,
a
too.
2-year course, a university degree to become a beer brewer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all science. It's food science. You got to learn about yeast, and you got to learn about plant. How the enzymes and everything else work in the brewing process. And you got to learn about water, and you got to learn about minerals, and you got to learn about pH. You got to learn about the cleaning chemicals. You got to learn about the mechanics. There's
Wow.
a very complicated business. So we're putting together a brewery at the moment, the new one.
Yep.
And one of my first qualifications is I'm an industrial engineer. So that's coming in very handy.
That'd be handy now.
In organizing the brewery and the processes and all that other kind of stuff. So I'm kind of in between project managing the installation of the brewery while I'm doing my research and lecturing, and it's a
Dude, how many
interesting
degrees do you have? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry?
How many degrees do you actually have?
I actually have 7 qualifications.
Oh, Jesus.
So I have my college diploma, the 2-year program that I did in Canada when I was 18. So an industrial engineering technicians, or engineering technician / industrial, I think it's called. And then I did a 3-year advanced certificate in management at TAFE when I was in my early 20s. And that's in like the early 1990s, 91, 92, 91, I think I finished that. And then did a bit of consulting for a while, and then needed to improve myself. So I went to AGSM and did my MBA there. I then enrolled in a doctoral program at Macquarie Graduate School of Management, and then transferred to Sydney for my PhD. So when I left to go to Sydney, I got a master's degree in business research methods. I have a PhD in economics, brackets accounting. Wow. I then have the master brewer's degree from Federation University, and I also have a teaching postgraduate degree from University of Sydney.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, well,
and last year I also did 2 courses online at Harvard University. So they're not degree courses; they're more of a certificate course. But I did sustainability management and innovation at Harvard.
Jeez.
So, higher education, that's obviously something you really enjoy doing. Is that something you'll always continue to do? You're always looking for the next course or something out there to study?
Yeah, in actual fact, I just finished a University of Michigan course on academic writing as well. So again, a certificate course rather than anything else. And I think my next one is going to be digital marketing. And that's what I'm interested in at the moment, because I think that's something that's going to is impacting on my business, and it's a bit of a mystery as to how it all works and how those strategies work and how to get best bang out of your buck. We've hired people in the past to help us with our social media and advertising and that, and quite frankly, it was a bit of an NFI situation, and paying a lot of money to somebody who thinks they know what they're doing and in actual fact is wasting your money.
Yeah.
So if you want to instill skills within your business, you go out and get them. The course is, it's probably going to cost me $2-3 grand to do the course, but I'll probably save that in money because I'm going to have the knowledge about how to do this better for the business. So I think continuous learning and education in anything that you do is essential. As I said, I did more study on academic writing, even though I'm one of the leading people in my field in writing papers. It was really interesting to do another course about it because it not only gives me an affirmation of some of the things that I'm doing correctly, but it also helps me learn some new tricks that I didn't really know. And so it's always about constant improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. And it must be exciting as well. Like if you're spending your whole time being professor, lecturing and writing stuff, it must be nice to be able to be the student as well every now and then as well.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's essential. I mean, I think it's you got to sit on the other side of the fence sometimes, and be the student. So sometimes some people think I'm a perpetual student, but I think I'm more of a perpetual learner than anything else. And I need, not that I need to keep myself busy or anything, but I'm specializing or targeting the education that I'm getting because it's relative to what I'm undertaking, and it actually helps me do a better job of the task that I'm undertaking at the time. And I think every time that I've actually gone to school, it's been a very practical exercise because I've been learning and doing mainly at the same time.
Yep. Do you reckon that being a student helps you be a better professor or better educator as well? Because you get to see what the experience is like as well.
Yep. You learn some new things and you see some things you go, not going to do that. So.
Yep. I don't want to do that. Absolutely. I like how you say you played around with getting some people to do digital marketing for yourself, and you thought, you know what, fuck, I'll learn how to do it myself and I'll do a better job. And it's going to cost you less in the long run as well because you can get your hands dirty with it, right? That's, I think a lot of people
That's
can
pretty
do
impressive.
That.
And it shows really good
like
leadership.
why I do my own bookkeeping. Because
you got a PhD in it.
Well, it's not that it's not that I got a PhD. In actual fact, my accounting PhD is not about the bookkeeping side of it. My PhD in accounting is more about the social impacts of accounting on society. So, for example, the last paper that we wrote that's had a real impact, we examined the chocolate industry in the Ivory Coast and how one fairly large company was operating there and kind of trying to put on a face that was doing wonderful and great things while at the same time there's still continuous problems happening. And not as that it was that company's fault that it was happening, but they're just one of the players in a wider involved in a wider problem, for example. So while I was doing, because of that study, that's why I tried to look at understanding how they were teaching sustainability in the American business schools. So that's why I undertook the Harvard course on managing sustainability, which was a bit of an eye opener for me because they teach it from a real, what they call the shared value model, which basically means how can big American companies secure a cheap supply chain of products from third world or emerging countries, while the poor people are basically living in poverty. So there's a lot of supply chains out there like that, and hopefully my work will have some sort of influence on how that policy gets enacted in Australia with Australian companies, because we have a modern slavery act where companies are supposed to give disclosures about what they do and how they're trying to prevent this stuff from happening. And that paper has just opened up so many research opportunities for me at the moment,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to continuing that work, because I think that work is going to have some impact, not
I
on
imagine
people's.
there's a lot more of that going on than we realize, right?
Absolutely, you just have no idea.
Yeah.
You know,
What sparked the interest to write that paper?
Reading the Sydney Morning Herald, and their one of their editors was wrote a story about it was on International Women's Day, actually, about exactly 5 years ago, 2016. And I was sitting in my office, just browsing the internet, as you do occasionally, just to see what's catching up with the world events. And I saw this newspaper article about how this company was doing wonderful, great things for women in West Africa, and helping them, take control of their lives and everything else. And the writer of this story was the guest of this company in Africa, type of thing. So they paid her to go, and what else are you going to do? Write a horrible story about him? And I thought, geez, that's just big business being, putting on a facade about,
Yep.
we're doing wonderful and great things. And I'm not saying they don't do some wonderful things or good things, or they're trying to improve the situation, but it was just it was a bit of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And then when we actually did the research about the company and so forth, what we found is that one of the things that they were doing was actually controlling the news agenda, because every single newspaper article that was ever written about the company, the source of the information was the company, except for one article, which was about how they're being involved in a lawsuit in the US because they're allegedly complicit with child labor and
Yep.
child slave labor being used in the cocoa farms, which has been had been a huge problem, both child and child forced labor in the cocoa industry, and it still exists today, and the problem hasn't been resolved.
Yep.
But, yeah.
Do you think there needs to be more education for the consumer as well, so they can have a better understanding of that stuff that's going on, so they're not sort of buying
Yeah, there
items?
is. In fact, if you go to a website called beslaveryfree.com today, they've actually just released their cacao report. So these are people that I'm trying to work with at the moment, but we're in contact and dancing around at the moment, saying, how can we help each other? And the report is really good, because it kind of really outlines the products that are coming, and where it's more ethically sourced and socially responsible and environmentally friendly than some of the other companies. So there are a lot of companies out there that are trying to do the right thing and actually make it their business to do the right thing. And there are some companies that just, they're there for the buck.
Imagine it'd be say you're a company that's done it wrong, you put your hand up and said, hey, I've been doing it wrong. You can't just flick a switch either and go straight to a more, better model, could you?
But I think what I find encouraging with this year's report is that they make a very special point of noting that the company who ended up on the bottom of the list last year has made some significant improvements. So in our research, we call these wider societal problems, we call these wicked problems, because we can be very, very critical of the companies participating in the market, which we should be to a certain point. But you also have to understand that these companies are not in control of the political agenda. They're not in control of the entire economy. They're not in control of the entire supply chain. So they are they're part of the problem, and they also can be part of the solution. And I think that's the most important thing, is to understand that they've got to work with the local government and people and so forth. But then now you're dealing with West Africa, where their business practices and ethics are not the same as what maybe you and I would expect of here in Australia. And there's some dodgy stuff going on in Australia, so you can imagine what kind of dodgy stuff would be going on in these other economies where it's everybody's chasing the buck because if they need to eat.
Yeah. And if like desperate times, like the people in those situations, they'd pretty much do anything and put their hand up for any work, regardless of what they get paid for it, right?
So the level of corruption and illegal goings on in that, I'm quite sure, and you can actually, because there's a documentary on Netflix about this on I think the show's called, it's not called Rotten. The show's called Money. I think it's the series it's in, and it's Dirty Money or Rotten. I don't remember which one it is. There's a let's say on actually what's happening in West Africa on the island. So you've got to in that you've got a farm that's producing a few hundred kilos of a couple of tons of chocolate or cacao bean, and they're out in Whoop Whoop, and there might be 20K off the main road, but that 20K in a truck could take you 5 or 6 hours to drive because the road's crap. They don't have the infrastructure that we have, and getting the product to market or to the ship to sail it into Europe or America or wherever the cacao is going. The price of cacao is loaded on board a ship. It's got to get from the farm all the way down to the water. It could pass, I think, 5 or 6 different hands at that time, because there's 5 or 6 different kind of people in the supply chain that need to be that perform a function, and also need to be paid for performing that function. So that's the problem, and that's a big problem that the cacao companies or chocolate companies have. Is how do you understand where your beans came from when you don't have any transparency in the supply chain? And that's what they're really working towards these days, and that's a big issue that we're having, not only in Australia but worldwide. Is how do we have accountability in supply chain? And that's been so it's a really interesting kind of example of the kind of work that I do and research I do.
What impact or influence would you like to see from your research?
Oh, gee. I mean, look, if it helps change government policy, fantastic. If it helps inform different practices in different companies, that's fantastic. If it informs other researchers to be motivated to do other types of impactful research, that's a good outcome. So I do see that in my research, that people are inspired by what I have written and have gone on and carried on other work. But I know for a fact that some of the stuff I've written on social and environmental accounting, I remember getting a LinkedIn message from this lady in Bloomington, Illinois, who is a consultant in corporate sustainability. She's working with companies and how to improve their management, economic, social, and governance issues. And they're using my papers to inform practice and how they deal with companies. I'm dealing with a lady at the moment who runs a huge human relations consultancy company, and I have regular talks with her about stuff, and she uses that in her practice when she's dealing with companies doing mergers and acquisitions. So, I guess to me, knowing exactly or having good examples of where my research has actually impacted not only on people but practices and outcomes is pretty good.
Yeah, that must be pretty rewarding and definitely drive you to continue ahead as well, right?
Yeah,
that's unreal. If I guess COVID makes it a bit tricky, but do you see some opportunity for some travel to try and get out and see these places? Is that something you'd love to do?
Mate, I tell you what, I haven't been on an airplane now for over a year. And am I missing it? Yes. Am I not missing it? Maybe. I miss my friends. I mean, I've got a lot of good colleagues and friends in Europe that I spend a lot of time in Europe, because I was spending anywhere from 3 to 6 months every year in Europe, teaching and researching. So yes, I miss that aspect of it desperately. But then I also have, it's kind of caused me to think a little bit more about my local environment rather than,
Yep.
um, so, um, I did traveling for a decade,
Yep.
on and off airplanes all the time since, April. Basically, I went for, I think my first major gig was in, it's traveling since I joined Sydney Uni. My first conference was like 2 days after I started working at Sydney Uni in 2008, and then basically been on and off airplanes, especially so in the last 5 or 6 years. Um, and so it's kind of nice to have a bit of a break from it, to be honest with you. But I kind of miss the people that I worked with overseas, but we still keep in contact
Yep.
through Zoom and research projects. It's quite common for me between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night that I'm on Zoom calls or Skype or that with my different colleagues
Yep.
in Europe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, for the sustainability and stuff, like, is that something obviously you'd try and have a big impact in, and you'd look at with your own business model and how you guys do your stuff, right?
We got two facilities where we use a lot of electricity.
Yep.
So the brewery here, which is just getting together now, we installed 36 kilowatts of solar power.
Yep.
We've got, I think, 13 kilowatts of solar at the other brewery.
Yep.
And the other day we pumped it here, even though we're not 100% up and running, but we got a big cool room and lights and everything else, but we still pumped 111 kilowatts back into the grid one day.
Oh, great.
That was like fantastic. So, and there is plans. Well, we do have greenhouse gas emissions from CO2 here. So we are trying to figure out some way how we can reduce or reuse or recycle or use that up. So it's one of the issues we're going to tackle. All of our spent grain and solids goes to a farmer, so it's feeding cattle, or I think cattle or pigs, that type of thing. We use only aluminium containers nowadays, mainly aluminium containers, because they're easily recyclable and the market demands them. So yeah, we try to be sustainable. We would probably prefer to use electric vehicles to deliver our beer, but at the moment there are no real options as far as that's concerned in Australia. Hopefully in the next few years that'll be. So there's definitely a push towards us to be using electric and or hybrid vehicles when they become available. You can get hybrid cars or electric cars, but we use small delivery and a larger delivery van, so we're kind of limited in that choice. But yeah, it is there. I try to actually get it to the point that I could actually measure what we're doing. I haven't got there yet, and whether or not we can declare ourselves carbon neutral one day, because that would be an interesting exercise. But
that'd be a massive formula. How would one work that out?
Well, there's ways of doing it, because when you ferment beer, you get an estimate of what the greenhouse gas emissions, and that you can get estimations for your vehicles per kilometer. You can get estimations. There's a science around this. You're never going to be 100% correct, but certainly going to be in the ballpark. And then it depends on what you call your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, because your tier 1 is like you, and then tier 2 might be your distribution, and then tier 3 I think is like your consumers. So that you have an impact all the way down the line. A lot of businesses, they do things like offsets. They'll go, okay, we're going to buy a block of land somewhere and rehabilitate it and plant a crap load of trees, which makes sense, because that's one of the ways of we know we have to produce things, and we know we're going to have a carbon impact, and you can offset that too. And if one of the solutions most effective solutions to reversing climate change is to replant the bloody forests and that we just tore down.
Yep.
So it's a positive step forward.
Is that something you guys would like to do as well?
Yeah, could be. You know, I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to retire one day. The business will still be running because Dave, my son's the one that, so
He can lead the charge on that.
And my wife and I have been talking of our plans for my retirement is a nice block of land somewhere where I can do a little bit of brewing or whatever, teetering around, and yeah, could plant a lot of trees or buy something that could contribute towards that.
But even in I like how you said you'll still be doing some home brewing even in retirement.
But
almost might
I'll probably
be
do more brewing
full
now
circle
because
and
like
go back to putting those beers into those agricultural fairs and win more prizes and
yeah.
awards on them.
Well, it's like this at the moment. Like my son's in charge of the brewing. I still have my day job, so I don't get a chance to brew. Very rarely do I get a chance to brew. It'll be either in my holidays or on a weekend, because I certainly don't have time to brew during the week. So that's, you know, I do have a love for doing it. I don't think I've made a batch of beer in jeepers, 3 years, at least 3 years.
Oh dear,
Last,
we're overdue.
yeah, that I did by myself or with Dave and organized a recipe, and because I'm mainly overseas.
Yep.
And I'm not doing the day-to-day business stuff because I've got my day job to do basically. So
yeah. Are any of your original recipes still used in the beers you guys create today, or similar to?
Absolutely. Our number one pale ale is as a leading product. Dave and I both developed the Belgian IPA, which is our second product we ever released.
Yep.
My Pilsner is still going strong. I make an Oaken whiskey porter, which is a seasonal beer, which goes off like a frog in a sock when we got it on. So that one's definitely still on the agenda. So there's several beers that I've made over the years that we've either Dave and I kind of launched the pale ale one ourselves because we just said, okay, it's nice to make the beer you want to make, but 50 to 60% of all the beer sold in Australia, a craft beer, has got pale ale next to it or some variant of pale ale. So people want pale ales, so you make a lot of pale ale.
You got to make sure you got to make some pale ales.
We make sour beers. I'm not necessarily a fan of sour beers, but we make some really nice sour beers. We've got a dragon fruit sour. We've got a yuzu sour. We've got a blueberry sour. We made strawberry milkshake sour. We've got an Oaken whiskey sour.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're great beers, and people like them, and people enjoy them, and then people buy them. And when we have the tasting room going here, we do tasting paddles, and a lot of people just get, I'll try your normal beer, I'll try your sour beer, I'll try your IPA, I'll try and it's I think I think we got 11. We'll have 12 taps on with different kinds of beer. We make a ginger beer, and then we also make 4 flavors of sparkling seltzer, alcoholic seltzer as well. So, you come down here and we've got 18 different taps you can choose from. And with different beverages on them, and we produce all of them. And that people love it, and then we sell the paddles, and they're $20 each, and you can go through 4 paddles and still not get through everything.
Get through everything.
But people are happy with that but some people might not like sour beer, so they just stick with all the ales. Some people like lagers, so they'll stick with the lagers and maybe a sour and a ginger beer or something like that, or they'll get all 4 different water of the sparkling waters and drink those. So one of the things that, we pride ourselves here is that we got something for everybody. Whereas you
Yep.
go to some of the other places, they got half a dozen beers on, and that's it. There's no variety.
Yep.
And it's like ale, a pilsner, or whatever. And yep, that's good. And then it's not bad beer. I'm not nothing against it, but it just, we give people a more of an excuse to come in and explore different types and varieties of beer. And
It's unreal. And what's your favorite beer to drink out of all those?
I'm a pilsner drinker, so I mean, it depends on the time of day. I mean, the pilsner is nice because it's 4.2% alcohol, so you can drink a few without getting smashed and still function. You know what I mean? Rather than some of these really big ticket IPAs are 8%. In fact, yeah, they just like imagine doing 2 schooners or 2 pints of an 8% IPA in the middle of Sunday afternoon. You like it's time to go home, have a nap after that. So we actually don't encourage that either, because we only sell the half pints. Anything 7% or more, we only sell in half pints. We won't sell them in full pints, because I think that's just being a little irresponsible.
That's being responsible. That's unreal. Whereas I don't think you'd probably wouldn't see that in a lot of other places. Plenty of places I've gone and been able to buy a pint that's 8%, 9%, and then you're right, you have 2 of those, and you're like,
$14 or something like that. And people get shit faced off it, and it's like, come on, guys.
And then you got to deal with them in your brewery.
It is what it is, and that's what happens with some other breweries. We don't do that. And when you look at our board, I think the majority of the products that we actually have on the board are 5% alcohol or less.
Yep.
And we do that intentionally. We do that because we want people to come around and not get overly intoxicated, because we actually have a duty of care towards people. And if they have different types of varieties and they're enjoying different kinds of beers and whatever else, well then, hey, that's what we're in business to do. We're in business to give people a good time, and so that they remember, and so they can come and enjoy themselves. And I think that's what we try to achieve. And we do purposely make some of our beers at lower gravity, so we can have that sessionable beer. And even some of the specialty beers like our XPA and hazy beers and things like that, they're under 5% alcohol. And we're exactly what we want.
Yeah, you can actually, come to your brewery, work through a paddle or two, and not just go home like a dickhead. Like you can enjoy yourself and actually taste everything, which is unreal. Actually enjoy that. You're there to enjoy beer.
Yep. And that keeps people coming back and going, I really enjoyed that. I hung around Dad and Days, and one of the best products we got is a sparkling seltzer, the alcoholic seltzers. The 3.5% alcohol. They're not overly sweet. You can sit down and drink them and socialize all day long and not get overly intoxicated, and have a great time. We had one group, had about 30 odd people in for a birthday party. And they sat there all day drinking the waters, and they had a great time.
I haven't seen much of those before. Are they a new product sort of floating around these days?
Kind of new to Australia. They're kind of just before Christmas started to get really popular. We launched ours basically as COVID hit. We were out there launching our product, which really pissed us off, because the best way to win consumers' hearts and minds is to go out and take your product and do tastings with it. So we're just ready to go out and hit every store that we could for tasting. But it was so popular. Like I think we even had 1 month that we sold more seltzer than we sold beer. So that was quite an achievement. And then it's and then COVID has also really forced us to change the type of products that we're making as well.
Oh, wow.
So there's a big move to the alcoholic seltzers, but there's also been a big move to the different, one-off specialty craft beers, because people, they haven't been going to venues, they haven't been going out very much, and they're staying at home and having their beverages. And they don't want the same old. They want something new and something different. So every time we can offer something new and something different to the customers, that's a positive thing for us. So
Yeah, that's unreal. And did you guys? Was there other things you guys had to do to adapt through COVID to get through? For
it's
getting your
everything.
stuff
Like
out and getting it to everyone.
business is just radically, completely different. Because we went from selling a lot of kegs to selling no kegs. We went
Yeah.
from selling nothing online to having an online business.
Yep.
And while people were locked down, that online business just went crazy. Now that people aren't locked down, it kind of ticks along a little bit. The nice thing was for our businesses is that we're very blessed to have my two sons that are working here who are very flexible human beings. And when we were first allowed to sell online and we had no other business coming, my son basically built the website in less than 48 hours and had us trading. So that was pretty phenomenal. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yep.
and not many businesses have people in the background who can do stuff like that.
Yep.
And Dave, my son, the other son, he's going like, okay, well, and I have to completely rethink the way I'm going to do my production, because now people are going to want different beers and I've got to get more cans up and running. And
Yep.
what are we going to do as far as all that's concerned? And so young guys here are very, very, excuse me, they're very flexible in what they can do and multi-talented. And then just managing the finances and resources. And we're very fortunate to get a little bit of the job keeper and a little bit of the the cash flow bonuses that they gave us. And so we're very, very thankful to the government and their relief package, because if we didn't get that, we'd probably be cactus, as would a whole bunch of other businesses. So maybe wouldn't be completely cactus, but geez, we would have been on the bones of our ass. And it set back project. It set back a lot of things. I mean, in some ways, the setback was positive because it made us rethink. We had a plan going forward pre-COVID, and that plan got basically blown out of the water completely. And because of that, we now have some new business as well. So COVID's been, how would you call it? It's caused us to transform the business in ways that we never dreamed that we were going to transform it.
Yeah.
And that can be for the better or for worse. But the benefit is that I think we had three people at the brewery and a few at the restaurant. We're probably employing 7 or 8 people, either full-time or casually. And that's over doubled now since COVID.
Yep.
So we need the wages to keep the product lines going, and that's been difficult. And that's hence now we've bought a brand new brewery, which is supposed to be much more efficient than our old brewery, and it needs to be, because production costs are a major part of what we do. So we got to try to be as efficient and effective as possible.
And a bigger brewery so we can make more beer, most importantly?
Yep, more beer. So this one will quadruple our daily manufacturing capacity.
Quadruple?
Wow.
How much beer can you make in one day?
We can make about 4,800 liters in a day.
Wow. That's a lot of beer.
Jesus.
That's, you make it, and then you've got a week or so to ferment it, and then you've got to condition it and can it and store it and sell it. Yep. So it's around for a while.
And then you've got how many different flavors? Sounded like 18 flavors.
We'd like to. We'd like to have more of that on tap, but we've got different products, including the seltzers and the ginger beer. We've got I think about 18 different products that we would like to make on a regular basis.
Are you always looking for something else as well? Like, are you in the background? Is there?
Yeah, always something new. So like this weekend, we've got what we call our hop harvest beer, which is a wet IPA.
Yep.
Which means that we got the fresh hops from the farms, instead of having them dried out, we just put them directly into the beer. So that's actually getting canned and kegged today for release on Saturday.
Yep.
And we're doing a what we call Citrus Sabro Oat Cream IPA. So that's coming out very shortly as well.
Yep.
And, we've got a smash beer, which means a single malt and single hop double IPA, a Nelson IPA, which is going really well. I think we're on the last keg of that, and we still have some cans left, but the cans are selling really well.
Yep.
So yeah, there's always something new and something different, and if it sells, it's good. Sometimes it ticks over nicely, and that's all good. So it's available, but it's just a matter of, you know, as we're growing and expanding, and just making sure we have the capacity, and not only just the capacity, you know, we have storage. So we've had to lease a new warehouse. We're building another huge cool room. We're doing some shared logistics, you know, lots of things to just try to be more efficient, more effective, and have more product available.
Unreal. And you, like you said, you got a restaurant at the front of the brewery as well, yeah? Is there burgers? If I
we have a restaurant down in Manly called Dad and Dave's Burgers and Beers.
Yes.
So
There's burgers.
if
There's
there's
burgers.
been a business that's really been super duper impacted by COVID, it's that, because you know, Manly relies on the tourist trade, and it's almost non-existent these days. We're getting fighting back with a little bit of local tourism.
Yep.
But that tourism is nowhere near what it used to be. So that causes the area to suffer. Yeah, it's been problematic. But you know, it's a good outlet for our product as well. We have the tap room here in Mitchell Road, which can seat up to 100 people.
Yep.
We opened that on Australia Day, and that's been going reasonably well for us. So that was a long project, but a year and a quarter bringing that one together, and you know, about 3 months later, we'd now have the major brewery up and running, which we really need to have it, because you know, you got to make a lot of kegs to service the thirsty patrons who come.
What I'm hearing is when we
as
finally
well as
do a podcast
as
road
well as
trip,
everywhere else that wants a beer. So
we need beers and burgers.
Exactly.
100%, bro. I absolutely love it. And do you guys tinker with any other beverages outside of that, or any plans or thoughts to do some
so my oldest son, James, he's the vodka man.
Yep.
And he's been making vodka for about a year and a half now.
Vodka.
Since that first release. So we have a version of sorry, not vodka, gin. I don't know why I said vodka. Jeepers. Sorry about that. He's the gin man, and he makes what we call a Bloody Mary gin, which is got Australian pepperberries, cherry tomatoes, and celery in it. So it's a very interesting flavor. The label is amazing. We actually won the best gin label in Australia award 2 years ago for that label.
Oh,
and then he's also been he's made a nice dry gin, which is supposed to be very good. I haven't tried it.
Yep.
And then he makes gin using yuzu, which is a rare Asian citrus delicacy.
Yep.
And then we also do a mandarin gin.
Oh, yum.
And we've also mandarin peel gin, and we've also been playing around with some what do you call it? Calamansi from the Filipino limes, basically.
Yep.
So yeah, there's different flavors and that coming through, but you know, we have 4 different ones that we sell at the moment, and they tick it over reasonably well. And we also have like the gin and tonic and gin and soda cans.
Yep. Geez, coming around to visit your house on a Sunday would be exceptional, I imagine.
Yeah, you don't know where to start, so you got to come around and have a paddle, mate.
Is there always beer in the fridge at home?
No. There's no beer up here. I don't need it. I just go down and it's on tap, mate. But no, if I mainly live at Katoomba, so but yes, there's always beer in that fridge. Always bring up a few beers, and
excellent, bro. Mate, we have for you 10 questions. They're very
Okay.
rapid fire. They're very random. It's the first thing that pops into your head. Are you ready, sir?
Go.
What word comes next? Apple, banana, house, ape.
Oh, jeepers. Beer.
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 What motivates you to work hard?
Life.
Who was your hero?
My dad.
Lovely. What would you sing at a karaoke night?
Crocodile Rock.
Oh, I like that. What was your nickname as a kid?
JC.
How many pillows do you sleep with?
2.
Nice. How long does it take you to get ready in the morning?
When I wake up.
Yeah. Who was your first crush as a junior?
Oh, gee. I'll have to remember which one came first.
Oh, dear. Who knows you the best?
My wife.
A genie has granted you 3 wishes. What would you wish for?
A book that explains everything a man needs to understand about women.
Yep. Yes.
A happy life, and a happy life for my family.
And another 11th question. Is Jess your favorite child?
Yes, she is.
Oh,
well,
that's lovely.
She
my
slipped
little
that question in.
princess. She's my little princess. She knows that. She says, but you know what? You know what happens. You have to know the truth though, because Jess is always, ringing me up every now and then. I don't, we don't talk all that often, but when we normally talk,
Yep.
it costs me money.
Ah.
And so I got in the habit when Jessica used to ring, as soon as I say, "Oh, it's Jess on the phone," and I just answer the phone and go, "No."
That's the best.
I love it.
Mate, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day and very clearly your busy schedule to chat with us today and give us a little insight into what you're doing. If people want to jump on and find you, your brewery, how can they find you? Where can they find you?
dadanddavesbrewing.com. So, and just put that in there, and they'll find the website. And we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. So, you can Dad and Dave's Brewing on those sites. You'll find us there.
Absolutely.
And if you want to come down and have a beer, Friday nights and Saturdays, it's generally advisable to book a table, because we can get extremely busy, and don't like turning people away at the door, but it has happened since we've opened up that we've needed to, because we've just been at our legal capacity. So, which is a nice problem to have. But we certainly want people to come down. The food's great. We've got our mate Olson from Dope Fusion. He does a really nice kind of Mexican, Asian, Samoan food mix. It's just totally amazing. And he makes the best loaded fries in the universe. I've never seen anybody make loaded fries like he makes loaded fries. They're just,
mate, that's awesome. Good. We'll definitely throw up all those links in the show notes and direct people where to go.
We come do a podcast.
We're definitely come. We'll do the podcast in the brewery.
That'll be great. We'd love to have you down here.
Absolutely. Mate, thank you so much for your time. We'll definitely catch up soon.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, Jen. Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.